Hello and welcome to Peace and Love, the pulse of humanity. Pulse standing for peace, unity, love, collaboration, and embrace. And I am excited to have with me today Paul Sobel, who has supported me with my insurance. Really, as an entrepreneur, I have accident insurance, and I thought that this would be the most unique time and way for Paul to talk about, from an insurance perspective, how we could be supporting ourselves at this time. So welcome, Paul. And before you start speaking, I'm going to read your bio.
Sure.
I know you from an international training and development company, and we connected, and I know you're awesome, but I don't really know your bio. So I'm going to read your bio to introduce everybody to you.
Okay.
So Paul was in the women's fashion business and wholesale for over 40 years. He had his own agency and sold mostly leather in full for coats to stores across Ontario. It's a dying business. So after he closed, he worked for an alarm company for a year and then a beauty supply company for 2 years, but his passion was just not there. Approximately 4 years ago, a friend of his introduced him to another gentleman who introduced him to the insurance company that he's now working for. He knew nothing about insurance, had no idea what benefits or supplemental benefits were, but he went and got his license, and after 3 weeks, they trained him, and since then, his career has skyrocketed. He found his passion, and his passion is that he loves to help people. The company's been around for 100 years. And I can say, for the times that I met Paul over insurance, the one thing that was overwhelmingly present was his passion. So welcome, Paul, to this conversation. I like to call it a conversation.
Not a problem.
It's great to have you. I know we've been going back and forth with these hats with each other over the last couple of years. And I just love that entrepreneurs have this option in order to deal with what they have to deal with in life. So tell us a little bit more about that. Am I asking a too open-ended question?
No. Actually, I had a little bit to how I found this company and what happened with me. You and I both have very focused ourselves on personal growth in the last few years.
Yes.
And many years ago, I was involved with multi-level marketing, and in that, most of those companies all follow personal growth. Well, when I was first enrolled with this particular company, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but while I was there, I kept noticing all the personal growth pictures on the wall, or this or that and the other. And it was like I was still in my multi-level marketing company, but here I was with a company, which is an insurance company, and you guys are going to find out this is not the type of insurance that you're thinking about. But here I was looking at this, and I had no idea what I was getting involved in. So I'm going to start off by saying, most of you know, Mimi does know, a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Well, his best friend was a gentleman by the name of W. Clement Stone. And if you don't know who he is, look it up. But W. Clement Stone also coached and trained Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. If you look him up, you're going to find two of the most important sayings about the company that I represent that is part of my passion. First of all, is positive mental attitude. And I have this discussion with my brother all the time. I always wake up in a good mood. He doesn't understand it. But one of William Clement Stone's saying is PMA, positive mental attitude. But the other thing that I'm most proud of is that one of his other sayings is do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. This company has tremendous, tremendous integrity. And that's important to me as a human being. So let's start about what I do. What I do is what I call living benefits or supplemental benefits, okay? When I speak to most of my friends, or when I first started in this, even when I spoke to you, Mimi, I talked about insurance, and everybody will say, it's okay, I'm covered. What they don't realize is they have gaps. Most people, when I ask them, they have life insurance. That's great, but I don't sell life insurance. Too much competition, and I'm just not interested in that. I personally don't have it because I don't have kids. But life insurance is a great thing. You should get it when you're younger, if you're going to get it, but it doesn't benefit you. It benefits your children. So God forbid something happens, covers your children. Now, critical illness is also a good thing. But again, you should get it when you're younger. For myself, if I wanted to get it now, it's just too expensive. But critical illness also, just so you know, in most cases, pays a one-time fee. If you get critically ill, God forbid, and you survive, you have one-time payments. You can never get insurance from anybody ever again, except from us. Because I can't in certain instances. The other thing is people always say, well, I've got disability at my work. Another good thing, but here's the problems with disability. First of all, you have to wait 30, 60, 90 days before you get paid. I don't know about you, but I pay my bills every month. I have to pay my bills. I can't wait 90 days to get paid. Second, in most cases, you only get paid 66% of what you're currently earning. Not when you signed up, but within the last month or 2 months. So again, most people, that's usually about 2,500 bucks maximum. I don't know about you. I can't live on 2,500 bucks. I'm sorry. 3, and this is very important, you have to be working. If you're not working, you cannot get disability insurance.
Wow.
You have to have proof of income. 4th, and most important, you are normally covered up until you're 65. Most people get coverage sometimes up to 70. Now let me ask you, do people get sick and injured after 65, Mimi?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tell you is I do sell some critical insurance, and I do sell a cancer plan that covers you lifetime. But my accident plans cover you until you're 85. So the question I always ask everybody, and I'll ask you, and you know I've asked you this question. God forbid you got into an accident, okay? And you were hurt, you were hospitalized a minimum 20 hours, or you were admitted, not sitting in emergency waiting, but admitted. If that happened to you, and you were there for 1 day, 10 days, 20, 30 days, how would you pay your bills?
I don't know how I'd pay my bills. I'd probably panic because I am my company.
Yes. In most cases, 90 or more % Canadians are in the same position. They would have to do one of two things. You will either increase your debt, or you will have to go into your retirements. So what I do is I protect people's retirements. Now, I don't want to go into the full products, but I have 2 different accident plans that cover you 8 ways. I can give it to you briefly, but I'd far rather people contact me for the information. I also have as I said, a Cancer Care Protector Plus plan and a critical illness plan that are my main focus right now. But here's why my main focus is. First of all, normally, before this crazy illness happened, before the coronavirus pandemic happened, I had to do business face-to-face. Well, my company is not only protecting us, but protecting our clients. I am not allowed to see anybody face-to-face. Now, normally when somebody buys a policy from me, I show them on my iPad, they sign a signature on the iPad. The company has found a way so that we can do it without that. So now I'm doing business by Zoom, face-to-face. Right. I'm talking to people. And just so you know, I am only licensed in Ontario. I cannot sell in any other province. In my business, literally for the company we're with, and again, I'm not allowed to say the name. I'm not allowed to post it because the company wants to protect their brand. There's literally about 200 of us selling in Ontario.
Okay, so are there other people, so there might be people from other provinces or in the US that might be interested in this. Can you connect them with those people in those areas?
What a great question, 100%. I actually have one of my business partners. Her brother was in the United States. So I reached out to the company and I contacted another sales leader like myself who contacted him and took care of him. Absolutely. Okay. It doesn't benefit me in any way other than helping somebody. Now, here's the other problem right now and why I'm very positive about what I do. Look at the odds of anybody from 6 months old to 85 years old, the odds of anybody having an accident, the statistics are the same, okay? Unfortunately, as you get older, the odds of you getting sick are greater, okay?
Yes.
But now, and I really don't want to be a scaremonger, but the truth is that we were selling sickness plans. When coronavirus hit, the company stopped. Okay, I can still sell the critical illness and I can still sell cancer plans. But we don't know how long that will last, because the truth is things are changing now. Insurance company will be changing now their policies in the future because we don't know about coronavirus, how long it's going to last. So for me, when I'm speaking to somebody, hang on for 1 second, when I'm speaking to somebody now, God forbid if you got the coronavirus now or someone you know does, the odds of them getting insurance in the future are very slim. And here's why. It attacks your lungs. If your lungs are weak, you are going to be more susceptible to 99% of the diseases out there than anybody else. And I'm not saying that for sure it's going to happen, but my gut's telling me that. So I'm contacting all my current clients, you included, to let them know they should consider, I know you're covered for accident already, Mimi, but they should consider the cancer care or critical illness because it's scary out there right now. No one expected this to happen. We didn't expect a world. You cannot go anywhere. And I believe it's going to get worse before better because there's countries, even in Toronto, there's people who are not paying attention. They're still going out in parks, and it's scary. So, you know, for me, yes, unfortunately, it is good for business. But the truth is, I want to help as many people as I can. You have no idea how many friends of mine that I showed my business to, okay? And a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, because something happened to them, or they saw something happen, and I'll tell you some personal stories, that they called me up and they got insurance after. So now, please ask your question.
So I'm going to backtrack for 1 second.
Sure.
That insurance was changing. Did you mean just your company was changing how they were doing insurance, or the whole industry was changing?
Well, so far right now, ours has changed. I can't say what the other companies are doing. You know, I don't know because I only represent the one company. But what I do know is that if our company is changing, they're looking at it too. Because all insurance companies are strictly a numbers game. Whether it's the top companies or not, it's all about numbers. So if there is a greater risk at selling somebody, either the prices are going to go up drastically, or they're going to have exclusions based on different things, or they're just not going to sell the same policies. I believe our sickness policies are going to change with exclusions. Because what I can tell you is this, now that everybody is seeing what's going on, how many people are hospitalized right now? And to the viewers out there, how many of you expect to have an accident or be hospitalized within the next week? Now, before you answer, I want you to answer this in your mind. How many of the people who are in the hospital right now with coronavirus expected to be there?
None of them.
Thank you. We would have paid them while they're in the hospital, helped their families, and they can't have visitors. But we pay basically for hospitalization from the first day up to a year in the hospital. We also pay a massive amount if you're in intensive care. And where are all those people in intensive care?
I mean, well, they're in intensive care.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to say. As somebody that's has observed this kind of insurance working, you don't have to wait 30, 60, 90 days to get this payment while you're in the hospital. I know somebody who had this type of insurance and they got paid like right away. I don't know, right away means between 7 and 14 days. To me, that's right away because it's in the same month where I have to pay my bills.
Yep. Usually in an accident case, as long, you see that there's literally 3 reasons why the company wouldn't pay a bill or pay a claim. Number 1 is fraud, okay? And there's a lot of fraud today. 2 is the client didn't understand what they were covered for and tried to claim for something that they weren't covered for. 3, the agent didn't look after the client. In other words, they sent in a claim form, something was wrong, and it didn't work. Okay, so the agent didn't look after. What I tell my clients, God forbid something happens. Well, I'll ask you, Mimi, God forbid something happens. What are you supposed to do?
The first thing I do is I contact you. I text you right away.
Yep.
Before I do anything, it's, Paul, can I do this? Can I do,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
am I covered for this? Am I covered for that before I do anything?
I have
I mean that I'm
so,
not going to do it, but I just want to know if I'm covered
yeah,
for it.
yeah. And I'm going to tell you a quick little story. You probably remember this one, but most people say, well, the hospital won't keep you. Okay. I'm going to tell you guys a little story that happened to me. About 4 years ago, um, I had knee surgery. I had my left knee replaced. And 6 weeks after the knee surgery, I was passing out. Didn't know why. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, rushed me to the hospital. And literally, when I got to the hospital, I slid off the wheelchair onto the floor. I passed out. So right away, they put me on a wheelchair and they took me to the hospital. Now, they took me into a room. Now, if I would have had the insurance that I have now, the clock would have started ticking because the doctor saw me. Okay. Now, I'm like anybody else. I'm waiting there 7, 8 hours for the doctor to come to see me a second time, and I'm getting frustrated, and I want to go home. I'm feeling better. What's wrong with me? I want to go home. The doctor finally comes in and goes, looks at me, he goes, Mr. Sobel, you look like you're feeling better. Your blood pressure's a little low, but you know what? Go home, go see your doctor in the morning. I was like, great, I'm out of here. My wife took me home, my girlfriend at the time, my wife, my lovely wife. She took me home. The next morning, I went to see my doctor, and my doctor went ballistic. First of all, the first things out of his mouth, he said, I should have that doctor's license pulled. And I looked at him, I said, why? He said, Paul, you overdosed on Advil. I burnt a hole in my stomach. I was bleeding internally. I bled to death. Now, yeah, I accidentally overdosed on Advil. In my company, that's an accident. I would have been covered, okay, if I would have stayed 20 hours. But my point is, the doctors in the hospital, and this is a general statement, normally in emergency, there's 1 or 2 residents who are very knowledgeable, been around for a while. The rest of them are 1, 2, 3 years. Who do they want to look after? Somebody who's complaining or feeling passing out, or they want to handle the emergencies that come in? So they don't want the small stuff, and they thought it was small stuff. So now I tell my people, listen, if it's bad enough you go to the hospital, make sure you're staying there until you know for sure you're 100%. I would far rather. I've had clients go in and be told they had a concussion after getting rear-ended, breaking all their teeth, sent home after 4 hours with a concussion. Now, for the listeners out there, just so you know, if you have a concussion, you can have a brain bleed in your brain, and the doctors will send you home. If I had a concussion, there's no way in hell, excuse my language, that I'm going home. They're keeping me there until I'm sure I'm okay. Listen, right now the hospitals are strapped, especially with coronavirus. But even on a normal circumstance, they're looking after their money. They want the beds, and they want their doctors working on what they call the hard cases. So
I'm going to ask you an more odd question. So with the coronavirus and people in the hospitals for coronavirus, we have an accident. It's a little bit scary to be going to the hospital, and yet that's what has to be done if we want to make a claim. So how do you balance that out?
right now, we don't have a balance for that. I mean, there's nothing I can talk about that. You know, it depends. There's different ways, but still, if you have a bad enough accident that you have to go to the hospital, you have to go. You know, what are you going to do? But my stuff is not for sprained ankles or strained wrists. My stuff is for fractures or emergencies, or, you know, I always tell people, just so you understand, I'm going to tell you a little quick story, and it's personal. 4 years ago, my older sister was broadside in a car accident in Mount Pleasant, Toronto. She was taken to Sunnybrook. She was in the ICU for 42 days. She was in the hospital for over 90 days. My brothers and I, we were in the ICU with her for the first 42 days. Now, my brother sells real estate, and at the time, I was driving Uber. If we're in ICU, how much money are you making?
Or you're not.
That's right. Now, my sister at the time was retired, and all she had was her pension. So after 3 months, she lost her apartment and everything had to go into storage. Now, people are going to say, well, she got car insurance. Yes, she got money 2.5 years later. Who do you think paid her bills for the first 2 years? If my sister would have had my accident plan, this plan would have paid her roughly $175,000 cash tax-free, because anything paid from this company is cash tax-free. It's supplemental. So anybody who's got a disability plan, it pays on that. it pays on top of EI. If you're on EI right now, it pays on top of EI. It pays on top of WSIB, Workmen's Compensation Board. We pay on top of all of those. And people are going to say, well, I'm not going to have an accident. Well, let me ask you something. Everybody's home right now. Is it not possible you could fall down the stairs and break your wrist? We pay. Is it not possible you could walk out and slip? There's no more snow. There was yesterday. And slip and break something. You know as well as I do. We pay. Accidents happen all the time. Children fall down. They play sports. They're not playing sports now, but they could fall down now and get a stitch. We pay. These are the things. And again, if someone's interested and they contact me, I'll go over everything and explain it in detail. I'm not going to go into the details.
Okay. So again, one of the reasons why I had you on, Paul, is because I know for entrepreneurs, the here and now, and how am I going to get through this time period if they have an accident, and God forbid they're in the hospital. This allows the entrepreneur the peace of mind or the safety if, God forbid, something like that happens. Take the time to recover the way you're supposed to take the time to recover, because now you have a source of money coming in that's going to support you during that time period.
Yes.
It's so important as a entrepreneur to have that.
100%.
So do you want to just say a little bit about your contact information, which I will also post below this video?
Sure. You can text or phone me. My number is 416-526-8538. Or you can actually email me if you choose. My email is my name, Paul, my middle initial J for Jeffrey, my last name, Sobel, S-O-B-E-L, @gmail.com. Either way you can, but I want to tell you something else, because my logo is something I'm very proud of. And the guy who cuts my hair, I've also known through the same place that you and I met. I'm going to say it was at Landmark, which was great. And through Landmark, I did the Sterling Men's Weekend, which was another way with helping me become the man I always wanted to be. I'm very proud of that. But when I was getting my haircut, and I've known my haircutter, Pierre, for over 40 years, and I was telling him, Pierre, you cannot believe how well I'm doing. I found something I'm passionate about. And, guys, just so you know, I'm 62 when I started this. I'm now 65. I'm a senior. And there's nothing out there that will pay me what I'm worth. And I found something that does. And I told Pierre, I said, I'm doing so well, it's just unbelievable. And he says, no, Paul, it's not unbelievable, it's so believable. So
that's so great. It's a great way to end off. Well, thank you so much. Again, if you want more information on whether this is a match for you as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, whatever that is, or how to kind of manage all that stuff during this time that humanity is going through, contact Paul, and he'll have a conversation with you one-on-one.
There's one other thing that I want to mention just at the very end. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for a new career, the company's hiring. We're looking for good, motivated individuals in Ontario that I can work with and train, because you'll be working with me personally. The company will help you do an online course now by Zoom, so you can actually get a license with us. And I tell you, there's nothing out there that's as good as this company. And I'm very prejudiced. It's been a blessing for me to find it.
All right. Well, that's always an added bonus. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Sure.
And I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Mimi. Thanks again very much. Much appreciated.